Hi everyone, welcome back to whatthefintech. We are back in the studio after a couple of episodes with AWS and Money 2020, where we were out on the market. It was a great opportunity for me to meet with companies like Extras, OSL, and BitCup in Bangkok. In a couple of weeks, we have a second interview with Money 2020 will be released. I'm very excited for this one. Those interviews with AWS and Money 2020 generate a lot of traction, so thank you very much for following it and liking it. It's already hard to believe for me that it's 1 year since I started this long format of interviews, and we have done more than 40 episodes so far. So thank you very much for your support and sharing these interviews with all your connections. And today we have a very powerhouse person profile, I want to say, on the cybersecurity market in Hong Kong. Ralph, how are you today?
Very good, very good. Thank
Uh,
you for having me.
I'm very happy to see you because you are part of the Fintech Association of Hong Kong. You are one of the co-chairs there. And since 1 year, you have done a lot for the Fintech Association. So it's a great pleasure to see you here and happy to discuss a bit more about your profile.
Looking forward.
Every time someone come to that podcast, I try to ask them to introduce themselves with their own words. Where are they from? What they have done before, and what brings them to the entrepreneurship.
Definitely would love to share that. And congrats on the milestone of after 1 year.
Thank you very much.
A bit of my background. I used to be in the world of Big Four. I started my career back in Canada with Deloitte. Started off as an intern, made my way up, fast tracked. And after a couple of years, I got the opportunity to actually move to Hong Kong. And with Deloitte, I moved and I became the director leading and building the cyber analytics for Hong Kong and Macau. After also fast tracking my career, I was fortunate enough to be a selected part of the partnership readiness school, a big milestone for me in my career. And that's where I started also pivoting and starting to change, like, okay, what do I want to do next? And as you mentioned, in the world of cybersecurity, it's evolving very quickly. And for me, it was a question of, okay, I need to go and explore the world of entrepreneurship, the world of startups, but more interestingly, building software. And that's where OwlGaze came about. And I'll share a bit more later during the podcast, but ventured off and went into the world of entrepreneurship while staying involved in other associations, communities, just like you said, the Fintech Association, also the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, and several other ones.
Before we go to your missions and what you are doing with your company, can you share maybe something that people don't know about you? For example, for me, it took me like 6 months to understand you are a French speaker as well.
Indeed, the French accents for some people is more obvious than others.
Yeah, mine.
Talking about languages, maybe that's also something that very few people know, but I actually speak four languages fluently. Obviously, English, French, Armenian, and Arabic as well. And this is something I've always had when growing up, being in surroundings that you mix all three languages, all four languages sometimes. And as much as it is in my fifth year now in Hong Kong, the Cantonese is a bit harder to pick up than other languages. But who knows?
Definitely. I spent like almost 10 years here and I just know like the bad words. So. Could you explain briefly what you are doing with your company and what is the mission you want to achieve?
Definitely, definitely. And that's also echoing what I said in the world of Big Four. So um, the world of consulting is quite broad. Obviously, if you start looking at cybersecurity, it could be also very broad. You could be on the consulting side or developing software. So what we ventured out to build is a cybersecurity software, an enterprise level. So it's a B2B software. And our focus and mission is really how do we, one, contribute in helping organizations be proactive in detecting attacks rather than reactive. And also, part of the culture and mission of OwlGaze is also how do we start disrupting the market and bringing innovation in the world of cyber with the latest technologies, AI, and all those.
Perfect, perfect. And where came the name?
The name was one of the exciting back and forth long journey to find it, because as much as it is, whether it's the brand or the product name, it's essential, and being able to nail it off the bat is something good. We It took us a long time, and so the company is called OwlGaze, and in the world of animals, let's say, Owl is one of the animals that is a bird that is awake at night, and gaze is someone that's looking and gazing. And the philosophy behind it is we're there to be an extension to the company and be the eyes and lookout of anyone trying to do any harm for you guys. And an owl also does rotate 360, so being able to look and monitor for you guys.
Well,
Yeah.
you have a lot of definitions. For me, it took me, I think, like 6 or 8 months to find the name of what the fintech as well. So it's a lot of
It's tough,
iteration.
yeah. It's tough.
Definitely. I would like to see what is the core services and solutions that you are developing, and if you can highlight like some enable business to maintain the robust security. How do you do it?
Yep. In the world of cyber, there are many pillars, many aspects, and layers of cybersecurity. And at the end of the day, there's always a foundation of concepts that is applicable to any industry, whether you're in fintech, whether you're in the blockchain Web3, whether you're in hospitality, you name it. The foundation is always there. And our service, our product, which is called Blacklight, and I could give you a bit of the um, idea behind that name in a bit. But what Blacklight does is proactively monitor and start detecting early signs of an attack happening. An attack could be a company being attacked from the outside in, meaning either your competitors, hackers trying to do malicious things, just like the internal staff who's potentially doing something bad, exfiltrating data or doing harm internally. So our software is it falls under the category of an SIEM, so an security information event management, generates, gathers all the logs of the ecosystem of the client using AI, finds patterns of something bad that started to happen, and we raise and bring it to the client's notification before it actually happens.
Perfect, perfect. And every time there's that question, also I ask to all entrepreneurs, what makes your company so unique on the market, and what makes this different from other competitors? Because we can see a lot of names of cybersecurity companies everywhere in the world, but also here in Hong Kong.
100%. And the thing is, whether you're in cyber or any other industry, many competitors out there. But the reality is, you have to look at the segment within cybersecurity. I think at a high level, there's probably over a dozen different segments. And even within that, there are very successful companies, just like the ones that have limited features and functionality. So, what made us unique, and this is something that was very important off the bat, is we need a solid founding team. And for me, founding team is the founders that bring not just capital or just on paper experience. It's founders that have hands-on experience, veterans, not people that have 5 minutes of experience, and uh, they're willing to put the effort to build this, but more importantly, that they believe in what they're building. And that is something that I truly believe part of OwlGaze, the founding team was an essential part of the growth,
Mhm.
especially developing the product, our software, where our angle was we're not going to base it on theory. We're actually going to base it on practice using theory, basically leveraging all the hands-on experience we have back, whether it's in the worlds of big fours or industry, and bring that to the development of the software and how to make our R&D process more efficient, and more importantly, our product market fit to be achieved from day one. Obviously, in the world of software, you have to continuously develop, and in the world of cybersecurity as well, because or else you're outdated very quickly. There's a lot of features and functionalities, and the way it's architected that allows us to be that differentiator. But more importantly, it's also we understand the current players on the market in our segment and how they work and what are the pain points that clients face. And that's where we started off in terms of building this.
Do you create tailor-made solutions for your customers, or do you have like a generic approach for all of them and you deliver the same services?
So the foundation of cybersecurity and the general models for us, we always align to the industry best practices and frameworks. So there's that core element that is applicable to all companies. For example, detecting if someone's trying to steal information as an employee, no matter what sector you are, it's going to be applicable. Now, the additional complexity of a certain client in a certain industry, That's where we start also leveraging what we call CTI, cyber threat intelligence. That's where we start gathering intel of, okay, is there a certain industry that's being targeted more than others? Is there a certain country that's being targeted more than others? And recently, for example, we'll take uh, the example of the blockchain industry, and how North Korea is one that has been using the blockchain companies as targets. And for them, for example, what we provide is a state sponsored type of intel, and how do we integrate that into our software.
Okay, interesting. I had that question I want to ask you, but you already share a bit of the story with me. But do you have any other like success story or case studies that illustrate the impact of your company? You just share with the blockchain, but I'm not sure if you have like
Yeah.
another one.
I have another one that was one of our initial clients, a national energy provider. So it's in the utilities energy sector, and the success story for me is a few aspects. There's always where, what does the client want? How can we deliver that? And one thing for us, across everything we do, quality is important. We cannot jeopardize anything, cut corners on quality. We really need to focus on that. And one of the success stories we have with this company is where the head of cyber and the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, every time we have our quarterly meetings or monthly meetings, they tell us genuinely, this is value added to us. Meaning, whether it's the reports, the metrics we share, the insights we share, they're all actionable. Because in the world of cyber, time is of the essence. You have to provide something that, one, brings them value, and two, they could take it and action it. That's very important. So in general, cybersecurity, we always become an extension to a client or a team within the company, and we need to add value. So another of the success stories, so other than being proactive of bringing insight to our clients, it's also the quality we provide and the level of industry expertise that is also reflected in our software.
Perfect, perfect. I have some question about your solution. You mentioned Blacklight,
Blacklight, yeah.
but one quick question before this one is, how do you iterate your solutions? Do you do different phases? Do you take also like I don't know? Do you do like some panel with some of your customers? Do you do some interview with them, or do you just improve from all the tools you're adding and you just try to improve the UI UX?
I'll put it in three categories. One is, for us, development is continuous, and I continuously push the team of what's the next big thing. What do we need to look at? Whether it's models, whether it's the AI algorithms, what's the next big thing? Because there's a lot of innovation and technology, but more importantly, is how do we include this into our product? So the development is something we continuously push. The other aspect is the different changes, whether it's the regulatory landscape that changes, that can we do anything to adapt to that or bring more value? Are there new frameworks or industry insights that we could leverage into it? So there's that aspect. And three, it's a continuous approach of, we have a team, but also an extended network of veterans in the world of cybersecurity. So picking their brains, getting their insight, this is something very valuable. And especially in the world of startup, when you're building a software, getting feedback from clients, getting feedback from veterans that have been doing this, and just keep on improving the product. That's always an important aspect.
What we do also at DBS, I do like continuous discovery with my team. We also do like interview of customers or interesting point of view. So you mentioned about Blacklight before. I would like to come back about this product because it's one of the products you
Yep.
highlight on your website and also
Yep.
on your LinkedIn.
Yep.
Could you elaborate a bit more on what it brings to your customers, but also why that solution is so great?
Definitely. So I'll start off by giving you a bit where the name came from as well. So just like OwlGaze is quite unique, Blacklight for us, it's really the concept of Blacklight is used for forensics, police, CIA, when they need to start uncovering things that you can't see with regular light, and you have to use that black light to start seeing fingerprints and all that. So it's the same concept in the world of cyber. So for us, Blacklight is that tool that's going to go look into your ecosystem, your environment, and start finding things that are bad. And unfortunately or fortunately for us, the fact that it pushes us to build this, hackers nowadays are very sophisticated. Back a couple of years ago, they would have been very obvious of here we're doing a lot of noise. It's almost hard to miss them. But nowadays, attackers could be in your environment for 3 months, 6 months, years sometimes. And that's where the gap was on the market of how do you start looking at longer attacks and longer behaviors. So what does Blacklight do? It's a predictive AI based detection tool, meaning it's going to start looking and start correlating all the different logs within your environment. What are logs? Logs could be your firewall network, your email security information, your identity and access management, who has access to what, and various different security solutions. So in the world of cyber, there are, like I said earlier, there are many segments. Each are doing one specific aspect of cyber, and so there are a lot of vendors and products that are doing extremely well, but their focus is just that. For example, one is identity and access management. I'm just going to look at who has access to what, and I'm going to manage that. The other one is email security. The other one is firewall, endpoint, and all that. Our product, Blacklight, is that command center for the organization where you start integrating and ingesting, pushing all the logs into that centralized pool and starts creating a data lake. And we use AI to start finding patterns. And the concept of AI, it's being thrown left and right on PowerPoint slides and all that. And there's a lot of clients that are asking us like, okay, what's your AI? What's his AI? Like, and it was very important for us, part of the architecture, to have it embedded. So there's a lot of different aspects as well, but the core one being we use AI to look at this large volume of data from various sources, various inputs and information, and start finding patterns. And patterns are usually deviations of a baseline or a combination of different things that when you put them together, all of a sudden, you know what, this person is actually doing something bad. Maybe for simplicity, I'll give an example of one of our simple models. Is how can you detect if an employee is trying to exfiltrate data? Unfortunately, it's common where someone wasn't happy, they didn't get the bonus they wanted, and found a job at their competitor.
Mhm.
So what they do is start downloading a lot of documents, a lot of files, folders that are going to be useful for them into their next role. So let's say Ralph is working in a company, and all of a sudden, Ralph starts downloading a lot of things. And usually, Ralph's behavior, he doesn't do download. So that's one tick. Like, okay, there's something wrong there. And then we start noticing Ralph is sending emails that has large attachments. And usually Ralph doesn't use a lot of attachments. So that's another behavior to notice. In addition to that, these emails could go, from example, from his corporate email to a Gmail account, or from your corporate to your competitor's domain. So these are things that if you start putting them together, it creates a story. And after a certain time, next thing you know, in this HR system, you have Ralph has 1 month notice. So the thing is, in the softwares that are on the market currently in the world of SIM, they're all reactive. The data has been exfiltrated, it's done, the employee is gone, you can't do anything. So what we do is, once we start seeing these behaviors that in a sequence of an attack or a hack, there's a number of activities that happen. So we know these, and we've modeled these, that for this attack to happen, the hacker does this followed by this and this and this. So once we start seeing that early signs of these are actually happening, that's where we notify the client saying, okay, we already saw this, and this is part of an attack, action it, block the user, do this, whatever it is. So we're really bringing that proactive approach of detection, and the proactive approach is using AI and finding that pattern in a large quantity of data.
Two things. One, you're super passionate about it. Like, man, your eyes are shining.
Thank you.
Two, it's the picture I have in mind is the movie with Tom Cruise, Minority Report,
Yeah.
when he tried to
Pretty much.
prevent like any crime.
Pretty much.
Okay. It was very interesting. One of my questions would be like, how your customer and clients react when they first experience this kind of solution here?
So this type of software has been on the market for over 2 decades, but
Okay.
the thing is, it didn't evolve as quickly, and it didn't address all the pain points, whether it's from an architecture perspective, whether it's how do you increase the efficiency of your team, or how do you use AI. So there's always been a few pain points. One of the pain points being cost, where these softwares are very expensive. So it was a question of how can we bring all this um, benefit to our client, from cost saving, from being able to improve efficiency, being proactive, and all that. And the clients that we serve and help is, okay, we're gonna look at it, because when I start working with a client, it's a long-term partnership. I don't want that one-off project. It's for us, how do we keep on improving together and growing together? But the reality is, in the world of cyber, cyber is always in the background, and it's an insurance. You never know when that investment you did is going to pay off. And that's where we also bring that to our client, in terms of um, how does the head of cyber or the CISO justify an investment to the CFO or the CEO that maybe is not very knowledgeable in the world of cyber. So we really bring it in the sense like, okay, we told you there's this potential attack that's going to happen, stop it. So now you stopped it, and everything's stopped at that point. But the real question that these people have to ask themselves, like, if we didn't notify you, if Blacklight and OwlGaze team didn't notify you, what would have been the impact? And the impact could be huge, from financial losses to legal pursuits to regulatory impact and to brand reputation. So a lot of teams start catering, okay, how does cyber impact the risk and the company itself? Because we see it almost every day, whether it's in the hospitality, for example. Last year, almost all hotels, the Marriott, the IHG, the Hilton, they were all breached. The blockchain industry and Web3, last year it was estimated the financial losses due to cyber breaches or cyber hacks was $4 billion US. It's huge. And if you think about it, one hack for an early stage company could basically be the end of that startup, because they can't afford paying the ransomware or whatever it is. So what we really help our clients and bring the value is that proactive approach of better be safe than sorry.
I don't know if you look at the French news sometimes or time to times, but last year some hospital in France were
Oh yeah.
attacked by Russian, I think, or like people from East European, and they asked for $1 million just to give access back to the data. So they had to do everything manually again.
Yeah, it was actually UK and France. They were both targeted the hospital industry, the healthcare. It's a huge, because if you look at the PHI, personal health information data,
Mhm.
it's very expensive on the dark web. People are actually buying that, and people buy it for different reasons. Some it's just obviously everything is criminal, but some people are actually using it to forge and do fraud. Some people could also be using it to start blackmailing others. So depending on the extent, it could have a big impact. So the message I tell a lot of our clients, like, no matter what industry you are, there's someone that wants the information, or someone wants to do harm to you. And harm is maybe stealing your client's information. Maybe it's a question of, I'm just going to disrupt your operations so you can't function for a week, 2 weeks, months until you recover. Just because, you know what, it's going to cost you financial impact and brand and all that. So there are different reasons why.
Perfect. You give me already like a lot of answers to some of my questions, so I won't ask all of them. But if we speak about innovation and technology, and then we try just to gather
Yep.
a bit all of them. You spoke of how you iterate with your teams, what is the net big things, how you bring them to implement the new solutions. I would like just to ask you, like, how do you identify these things? For example, like cutting edge AI technology. How do you streamline that technology into your process and workflow and deliver the project with it?
Yep. Um, few things that we consider. So again, going back on the tone that we as the founders and leadership we set is, we push the boundary. So we push our team because we want them to learn more, and we want to give them that flexibility of go and find something new. So there's always that mindset of what's the next big thing. Anything that becomes routine is not part of our culture. So there's that, whether it's the next cyber threats, just like the AI. I'm going to emphasize a bit on the AI because it's a hot topic across all industries between the recent news and the huge investments into AI. And the reality is, the last couple of years, AI has been thrown left and right, put on PowerPoint presentation, but if you look under the cover of the software, it's not there. And we face that challenge because clients, investors, they're all asking, okay, what's AI? And the fact that we take it to the next level of one, we start telling you and explaining you the AI models, the different algorithms we have, and the architecture that's built behind it. And this is just an AI architecture. So we start explaining all this, and obviously we have AI engineer part of the team. And in addition to that, is like, okay, we're gonna take it two steps more. One, how do you make it obvious on the software on Blacklight that this was what the AI detected specifically? So that's where we started also looking at how does the UI UX work with the AI and the output. And lastly, that's probably one of the milestones we crossed recently is we started filing for a patent for our AI algorithms. And this is something that one reflects the fact that not only we've actually built something behind the AI, but it's also something that we truly believe is a differentiator and want to emphasize it into our software and have it embedded in it. So filing for a patent was something that we've been discussing for a while internally, but now it's a question. It makes sense.
So basically, you anticipate the hype on AI before
Yes.
it happened. Well,
Yeah.
pretty good, pretty good. Do you have any recent or upcoming product features that you are very excited and you can share with us?
The roadmap of features and functionality is something that we continuously build and start planning, and obviously always adapt to what's the priorities and all that. But for us now, it's definitely the AI models that we're continuously building. And there's a few other features, the cyber threat intelligence, and without going too technical, we've also embedded a lot of features that improve efficiency for teams. And these are things that you'll only realize or see once you start using it. Because as much as I could talk to you about the detection, the AI and AI, but there's other things that make the tool and our software powerful for organizations. And when I say organizations, it could be them using it and running it internally, just like there are managed service providers, MSSPs, that are basically outsourced providers for companies to basically manage this. And for us, it's how do we make them efficient as well so they provide better services to their clients.
Perfect, perfect. Is your team based here in Hong Kong, or do you have also teammates across the world? Now we can see that with remote working, it's possible to have teammates everywhere in the world.
So the team is spread between Hong Kong, London, and Australia.
Okay.
And for us, it was a question of finding the right talent wherever they are in the world, and that's why it was always tough to find good developers. How do you define good? That's very subjective to each his own, but for us, quality is very important, but also mindset. Because one challenge entrepreneurs face is how do you convince someone to join a startup? And you want this person to be there not just for a couple of months and then they're going to hop around. So there's a bit more than just hiring someone. There's the credentials on CV. That's one thing. There's how does this person express themselves and justify what's on the CV? And especially when, in our case, whether it's in general, the engineering profiles, masters or PhDs, like, okay, are you leaning more on academia or you actually have practice as well? So looking, evaluating all that. And an important factor is mindset and culture. How does this person fit into our team? Are they going to be a team member and help grow, or is siloed? The culture is very important at the beginning of a startup.
Definitely. By having people here in Hong Kong, in Australia, and London, does this impact your strategy for global expansion, or do you focus really your mission on some countries like Hong Kong or maybe other markets?
Yeah. So two aspects there's the team from a development perspective, and that is something where if in general they're primarily in London, Hong Kong, and we want to expand further skill set as well across Australia. But the expansion in terms of business and growth, so we're fortunate enough to have clients globally already, but our primary focus in terms of market are APAC, whether it's Hong Kong, Singapore, Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand, and obviously having footprint in London gives us that UK, Europe, and with my recent trip to Dubai, the MENA region is something that's exponentially growing. Whether you're in the fintech world, but other sectors as well, that's another area that we're going to be growing in.
And how do you navigate between the regulation and all the risks from all those countries?
So we navigate by helping our clients be able to comply to these. I'll give you maybe two examples. One of them is um, the type of software we have, and if a client has global footprint, they need to consolidate all this information. And whether you have uh, operations US and Europe, let's just say, Europe has its GDPR, US has their own data protection laws, and it's how do I gain global visibility while not breaching any of those. And that goes back to the pain point that we address part of the architecture. So our architecture actually helps them comply to that, tick the box to that. And this is at the data protection level, but also from the day to day, it also allows them to have a more cost effective approach to it. The architecture allows them to really reduce cost. The other aspect, which is maybe to your earlier point of roadmap, what do we do? How do we help? Is with the recent regulations in Dubai for the virtual assets with VARA, Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. They have a number of requirements. In addition to that, they have requirements when it comes to cybersecurity. One, having a CISO role to look at cybersecurity, and two, to be able to have that log management tool to start consolidating your logs. So that's a bit of a unique positioning we have to be able to address that, both from the CISO as a service, but more importantly, from a tech perspective, we could help them address that in terms of regulations. I need to comply to VARA. From a security standpoint, we're your business partners. We'll help you do that. Same thing now with Hong Kong as well. That with the recent announcement, it's going to be similar, where cybersecurity is one of their requirements, and we'll be able to help these companies tick the box.
I would like to come back to a couple of points of this interview because you spoke about like strong partnership, long-term commitment with corporate, right? Now you are speaking about those different regulations from Dubai and from Hong Kong.
Yep.
What have you learned from all those partnership with, for example, VARA, with Hong Kong SFC, or with corporate where you are working with them for a couple of years?
The lesson learned is be flexible, be agile, and find solutions for them. Because these new companies, the startup early stage, or even the established ones that are now expanding into Dubai. If I'm not mistaken, recently the one I just read was Coinbase that's expanding even further there. They need to adapt to that, and it has to happen quick. We live in a generation, an era that if you're not quick, you're missing the boat. So the partnership and the mindset we have is what differentiates us, because the client has, they could go to any vendor, any software, they could find it. But what's more than that is the professionalism and the experience we bring of adapting to help you, one, stay secure, but while being able to continue your business and expand, because as they expand, we expand. So our partnerships are very important. How we work with clients, like I said, for us it's always long term, and we help them really address them and not hurdle it, but bring them really an action to execute quicker.
And if you have the chance to work with one organization or individual in the world, who will be it?
That's a tough question, but I'll put it more into and the more you get into the world of entrepreneurship, founders. For me, it's being able to pick successful founders' brain get their lessons learned. Many successful founders, veterans now across in the US. So being surrounded by individuals that have hands-on experience in entrepreneurship and founders that have potentially also exited or are on the verge, there are a lot of lessons learned to take. And I always, in my entire career, I always used to ask the partners in the world of Big Four, what's a lesson learned that you have that I could use to fast track my career? So it's the same idea where if I'm surrounded by individuals, there's always something I could learn, whether it's on the business side or how to deal with an individual, for example.
Perfect, perfect. We spoke about a lot of things. I had like many questions, but some of your answers are already great, and I don't want to come back to those points. So maybe before we finish, we close this interview.
Yep.
I can ask you about the future. We spoke about the past, the present. So, what is the vision for your company? Where do you see yourself going in the next couple of maybe months, year, or 5 years time from now?
One thing for sure is growth. For us, it's all question of growth, both at the individual level, our team, even pushing them to the next level from a software perspective of how do we start shifting the needle in terms of innovation? How do we incorporate it, part of it? And one thing that we really focus is how do we make it adaptable? I'll come back to one aspect around how does blockchain fit into all this. And the other one is also a question of continue growing our footprint. So the MENA region is something that is going to happen soon, and to help a lot of the companies that are either going to establish there or that are already established.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. I think is most of my questions for today. Thank you very much for sharing everything with us. I still have like 2 or 3 questions, but it's mostly like related to where we can learn more about OwlGaze,
Sure.
Blacklight, and yourself.
Best way to reach out to me, whether it's through LinkedIn, would be happy to connect, and obviously the contact form on our website, so owlgaze.com. But personally, more than happy to share my insights and help anyone. So feel free to reach out on LinkedIn.
Do you also produce sometimes some content?
Yes. So we do insights and reports. So a few ones were around how do you secure the blockchain, who secures the blockchain. So there's a few things that you could also find on our website under the insights. And we always try to bring and educate as much as we can and contribute back.
Do you have like any recommendation for books, podcast, or blog looking at cybersecurity or entrepreneurship?
Cybersecurity, it's a beast, and my advice, depending on where you are in your career stage and all that, it's always a hands-on experience. Always surround yourself by people who have hands-on experience. And coming from the world of Big Four, I know consultants don't. There are consultants that do more than PowerPoint presentations, and these are the people that you learn the most out of it. In terms of entrepreneurship type of podcast, one that I recently been enjoying a lot is called the All In Podcast, where it's veterans in the world of VCs and entrepreneurs, and very insightful and education of how to sometimes also learn where's their mindset and all that, and how to pivot. And one book that's still resonates with me is The Hard Things About Hard Stuff. It's a good story to listen to, and it's the hard things are tough in the world of entrepreneurship.
Perfect. Thank you very much for today. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank
it
you.
was another episode of What the Fintech. Feel free to reach out for more information, and you can contact Ralph if you want more information about his company. Ciao, bye bye.